We have a brand new phone that just arrived today, the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II. As always, I am very excited to take a look at Sony phones. So I'm Alex, and you are now entering the Subnautics. All right, so this is the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II in all its glory. And in the back, we have a phone that is very reminiscent of Sony's, I guess their design language. We have 3 cameras here, the Zeiss camera lenses. And they've been using Zeiss lenses for a little bit of time. And this is a 12 megapixel f1.7, has a 24 millimeter wide, a 12 megapixel f2.4 with a 70 millimeter telephoto lens, and also a 12 megapixel f2.2 16 millimeter ultra wide. So those 3 cover basically everything you'll need for your camera experience. And of course, we have that Sony branding and that Xperia, but it's very clean, business-like. This is what Sony is best known for. And then on one side of the phone, we have basically all our buttons, because here are our volume rockers. It's a little clicky, it feels a little plasticky. And then we have our side-mounted fingerprint scanner that also doubles up as the power button. This is a Sony staple. They've been doing it for a long time now. And we have 2 buttons here. So I'm glad there's 2 buttons, because one of them, this bottom one, is the return of the shutter button. So the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II has a shutter button. Some of the other Sony phones I've been using the last couple of years, like the 10 Mark II, they got rid of it, even though like I think the XA2 had it. So I'm glad this is back here. And this right here is a designated Google Assistant button. So we have that right there too. On the bottom, we have USB-C as our charging port. Unfortunately, we don't have Qi wireless charging on this phone, even though it's a phone that looks like it can support it, but it doesn't have it here. Even though it's $1,000, I was kind of hoping that we would get wireless charging, but we don't have it. And then on this other side, we have our staple for Sony as well, which is this, let's see, let's pull this out. The SD card, micro SD card, and our nano SIM tray, which you don't need a tool to remove. You can just pry it out. That's the classic Sony here. And at the top, we do have our 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So this device does have the headphone jack. And on the front of the phone, we have our display here, which is this is a gorgeous 6.1 inch 1080p screen. So it's a full HD screen, and it looks really, I guess, shiny because the pixel density is also pretty good. 449 ppi, thanks to the 21:9 aspect ratio. So this is that whole cinematic view that Sony has migrated towards the last couple years, and that's what they're known as right now. So 1080p, and it has 449 ppi. So what's under the phone here, powering it, is a Snapdragon 865 processor with 8 gigabytes of RAM and also a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So those are really good, nice flagship specs for a 2022 flagship phone. And I'm excited to actually test out the battery here, because coming from the Microsoft Surface Duo, I wasn't was charging the phone twice a day. So I'm actually excited to see a 4,000 milliamp hour battery on a single screen phone. Little things like that definitely win for me. And this phone also runs on Android 10 right now. So stock out of the box. I haven't seen the update from actually just a few minutes I've had on it to Android 11, but it will get Android 11 rather soon. But out of the box, at least right now, I am running Android 10 on this phone. When it does get updated, I will let you guys know. And it also has, this model we have has 128 gigabytes of storage. And once again, you can use a micro SD for expansion from Sony phones. Now, one thing very exciting about this phone is it has 120 Hertz refresh rate on this phone. And yes, we're seeing a lot of really nice refresh rates on displays for other phones nowadays, but 120, that's top of the line specs here. So I'm very excited to play some games on here. And it's kind of interesting that at least on this particular phone that we have here from Sony, that Call of Duty is preloaded here. So there's not a lot of bloatware. I'm pretty impressed that there's not too much bloatware, but we have Facebook and Netflix and Call of Duty pre-loaded onto here. So I don't know why Call of Duty or what kind of deal they have with Sony, but it's on there. I might as well even try it out, I guess. So 120 Hertz refresh rate, it's going to be fun trying it out here. And your interface is very similar to what we normally have on a stock Pixel phone or stock Android phone, because Sony keeps it very bare, which I actually prefer. So if you swipe left, you get your Google Now cards. If you swipe up, you get your home, your apps, your app drawer. And then if you swipe down, of course, you get your quick settings. And of course, our settings menu is very similar to what we're used to with stock Android. So that's all great. I like that. And Sony has kept it here. Now, in terms of actual like OEM specific apps, Sony has added 2 Pro apps here. So the Xperia 1 Mark II has also had this. And I'm kind of glad that Sony has included something like this. I'm excited to try it out. I was kind of playing around with it a little bit. But from a filmmaker like myself, it is kind of cool to see this here. But like Cinema Pro, Cinema Pro and Photo Pro here. So there's 2 specific apps that really utilizes these cameras here. And it's supposed to really be able to give you the flexibility. You're not going to get DSLR. I mean, you really can't get a cinema or DSLR experience on here, no matter how hard you try. But in terms of camera capability for a smartphone, I mean, this is pretty darn cool to have something like this here. And you can bet that I'm going to be playing around with it. You can change the FPS on the fly here, just like you would on a camera. So at least for video recording right now, it seems like we can go 24 or 23.98 to be exact, and 120. And the frames per second is easily changeable here. Same thing with resolution and all that stuff. It's pretty darn cool. I also like how you can adjust the lens immediately like that, and it's rotating between the 3 lenses we have. So very cool stuff here. I'm going to be testing this out, and of course this is going to be a big part of our review because Sony cameras have always been very interesting to me. They've been really improving over the last couple years, so I'm very excited to see how far, because I haven't used a flagship Sony phone in I think a couple of generations. And so I'm excited to see how far they've come since I've last used it, especially like a manual mode thing here. I'm actually going to have to learn this because, like I said, I haven't. Oh, okay, that's cool. So maybe rack focusing, we can learn a little bit about how to rack focus a little better using this. And also the Photo Pro, as you can see here, that's pretty cool. Okay, so one thing I've already noticed, and I'm going to have to tinker with the settings to see if it's something I can adjust, is I love the haptic feedback. So you can't see it. I can't really like show you guys, but when I'm scrubbing, you can feel the haptic feedback. So that's something that a photographer used to DSLR or any type of camera will really appreciate, because you want that feedback. Because if you don't have that feedback, it's kind of hard to feel exactly, especially when you need to narrow it specifically to a point of adjustment. So that's really nice that that's there. Even with this ISO, it's actually giving me feedback right now. So I'm actually digging that a lot. So I'm going to be playing with these two apps a lot with my review here. But otherwise, performance, Snapdragon 865, I'm going to let you guys know at Sipnotics.com or our Twitter and Instagram at SipnoTech. I'm going to be talking about this phone a lot in the next month or so when I'm using it. And experience-wise, it's pretty much an Android phone. It's a high-end, clean version of Android with the camera stuff that's going to be very exciting. So, I'm Alex from the Sipnotics. Be sure to come back for my full review of this phone. And once again, go to our social media because I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures using both of these and also the video mode. And of course, I'm going to be using the superior auto mode just to compare and see what it does with its AI here compared to what I can do manually in the Pro mode. So I'm very excited to try this phone out, and I'll see you guys in other videos.
So the other day I went to the market and I saw a bunch of people with their iPhones just checking their grocery lists. And I told them, hey, you should subscribe.